AEW might be planning a surprise match for Double or Nothing, and truth be told, this is something I am 1000% supportive of. I think the way I fantasy book it in my head, if that were to come to fruition, I feel like if that was real, it would be pretty damn legit. But also, without even me fantasy booking, I think this is just a foregone conclusion that this is good for AEW in general. And I'm going to explain why in just a moment. But I do want to provide a quick update on Sasha Banks. Also, we got an update on Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. There's just a lot of chaos happening in WWE. And it's every time there's new reports, my goal is to keep you guys updated. So let's just talk about Sasha Banks and Naomi really quickly. There's been a lot of talks about Sasha and Naomi this past week, ever since they were indefinitely suspended by WWE and they were pulled from all creative and all shows and everything like that. Now, Ringside News has come out with a report that suggests Sasha Banks and Naomi have no return plans for WWE. So WWE has no creative plans to bring them back to television or anything like that. As of right now, that's kind of the status of this. Now, the reason why I am bringing this up is because, I think a lot of people are going to have this conversation. They're going to have there's going to be a lot of debates going on in the internet wrestling community. And again, you should form your own opinion based on the information that you see. And that's what I would suggest, right? Now, based on that, there has been some reports that Naomi was the one who was having contract negotiations with WWE for an extension. And prior to that, prior to the release, all of these things, or not release, but prior to the suspension, that's kind of what was happening with Naomi behind the scenes. So there are a lot of people out there who believe, hey, this is a work. This could have been done. This could have been done in a way for Naomi to have some leverage within her contract talks, whatever it may be. I don't want to get into all of that. I find that to be it's too much of a deep dive into something that's so chaotic as it is. However, with WWE not having creative plans for Sasha Banks and Naomi, my belief is that we're going to see one of two things. We're going to see them eventually come back, or we're going to see them not getting re-signed. I don't expect any releases, and I don't expect any frozen contracts. So there's always a possibility they can work it out. Sasha Banks has worked out her stuff with WWE in the past. I could see that very well being the case. I don't see WWE locking down contracts. I don't see WWE freezing contracts. I don't see WWE doing anything like that. I would either see that they are just not re-signed when the contract expires, or they come back, or maybe it's Naomi who stays. Naomi seems to be the one that a lot of people are saying she's not as guilty as Sasha here. As far as saying who's guilty and who's not guilty, I don't pick one. I don't even get into that conversation. Because I think we still haven't heard the story from Sasha and Naomi. There's just been a lot of talks about contracts and then, frustrations with booking and this and that. There's just so much happening here. Who's guilty, who's not guilty. I'm not a judge. I just bring you guys the news as it comes out. So what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think Naomi is using this as a way to get contract leverage? I don't know if that's the case. I think that's silly, but there are people who believe that. But look, as far as coming back to television, it doesn't seem likely just yet. So we'll see what happens. Also, what does suspended indefinitely mean? We haven't really heard anything about that. All right, guys, Triple H is back working in WWE full-time. Sounds kind of crazy, but I mentioned this. I actually mentioned this during WrestleMania weekend, and a lot of people were saying, no, Triple H is not working for WWE. No, he's gone. He's not helping out, blah, 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 blah. Look, guys, here's the thing. Triple H is working full-time in WWE, as we have been saying. This was also confirmed over the weekend. Now, of course, there's a lot of people with their wrestling conspiracies because Stephanie McMahon has taken a leave of absence now that it's public knowledge that Triple H is back working full-time. Now, of course, there's a lot of talks about this. We know that Nick Khan is taking some of the full-time duties of Stephanie during her leave of absence. However, what's really interesting is PW Insider reported today that Nick Khan will handle most of this during her leave of absence, but the belief is that eventually the company will bring in someone to handle the brand management on an executive level full-time. So, that's kind of a strange way to put it, but is Stephanie McMahon leaving? Now, Wade Keller and PW Insider and all of these different people are talking about these different stories that they've heard about there being more to the situation. Now, with that being said, I think it is very foolish to speculate what could actually be happening here, okay? For those who believe that it might have to do with creative booking and whatnot, I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I know there's a lot of people having conversations on social media. In my comment section specifically, is there a release of leaks of like information that WWE might sell. Like, what is it that could drive Stephanie McMahon to take a leave of absence, you know? But also at the same time too, it's public knowledge WWE and Triple H are back at it with the plans to put more performance centers around the world and expanding the NXT brand and the WWE brand. So I don't think WWE has plans to sell. I don't think WWE has any plans at this moment to like, I don't think they have any plans to get rid of the Stephanie McMahon Triple H era. I think there is just something far deep into it. And again, it's not even worth speculating, but people are asking me, hey, is there news that may have leaked backstage about selling or whatever? I don't think that's the case whatsoever. You never know. But again, I'm not going to speculate on it. Nobody really is going to speculate on it. I don't think it's necessarily fair to speculate on it. But what I would say is that I genuinely believe Stephanie will be back when her leave of absence is done. You know what I mean? They got family, they got kids. Everybody has their own shit to deal with, all right? You and your family has shit to deal with. Every family has stuff to deal with. That's normal. That's life. And hey, Stephanie works in the family business. And so taking a leave of absence, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, guys, now this brings us to our final story of today's video, and that is Double or Nothing. And honestly, I am excited to talk about Double or Nothing. I feel like we haven't been able to talk about Double or Nothing that much, unless you watch live on the Ango show, of course. Now, what's really, really interesting is Dave Meltzer discussed the plans for Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti at Double or Nothing during the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. And he also noted that a mixed tag team match that will see Guevara and Conti versus Scorpio Sky and or Ethan Page and Paige Van Zant is listed internally to take place. Now, the thing is, there is a plan to have a mixed tag match, and there has been nothing to necessarily to build this up, right? And it hasn't necessarily been announced on television. And they haven't announced anything, and obviously Double or Nothing is this week. So the idea is that AEW can have this match, and mind you, AEW Double or Nothing is probably going to sell extremely well. Based on all of the matches that have been announced so far, I mean, you got Hangman versus Punk, Rosa versus Deeb, Jungle Boy Luchasaurus versus Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs. You have the Anarchy and the Arena, Chris Jericho, Jericho Appreciation Society versus BCC and Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz. Then you have the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final, the Women's Tournament Final. You have the TBS Championship match between Jade Cargill and Anna Jay. Young Bucks versus the Hardys, House of Black versus Death Triangle. You have Hook and Danhausen versus Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. Guys, my point that I'm making here is this is such a stacked card. AEW doesn't necessarily need to promote this match in advance to help sell the card. So what I would do, especially because we know that Paige Van Zant is training and we know that she's getting better as a wrestler, you don't want to put pressure on her in this situation. I can see them having like some sort of backstage angle to set this up, whether it's on Rampage Friday night or whether it happens on the night of Double or Nothing. I would have Paige Van Zant and Ty Conti have some sort of interaction to set up this match. And this way you don't have to build a crazy storyline just days before. Obviously, there's been a storyline between them, but Paige Van Zant isn't always on TV and whatnot. So without the attention being on her, maybe being a surprise partner, that type of thing, some small interaction, that's going to build this up. But I like surprise matches. I think this is cool, and we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. See you next time.